Yeah.
So we should see yeah, there it goes. People coming in. Hey, everybody.
Yeah. Share if you're from Team Bardeen or Team Glide. Nah, just kidding.
Oh.
Share a robot if you're from Bardeen. Just kidding.
Share a
This
lightning bolt
is
if
the
you're
cool thing
coming in from Glide.
here. We have both communities merging.
Yeah. And we haven't done anything like this before on the Glide side, where we're doing this like simulcast, two communities coming together, two heads of community on at the same time. So I'm really excited to dig into this and share some of the good stuff that we got coming from both Bardeen and Glide. Hello from Argentina. Hello from Boston. And there's the first Darren coming in from Glide.
Darren.
Hey, Darren.
All right, I think we can get started.
Yeah, we can. And if anyone's wondering why we're like shouting out to people that you may not see in the chat, we are live on Twitter, we're on YouTube, both of our YouTubes, we're on LinkedIn, we're all over the place right now. So there's a lot of, we're spread out. That's why you may not be seeing some comments that we cite, but it's all good. So yeah, let's get into it. Ivan, do you want to kick us off?
All right, welcome everyone to the Bardeen and Glide workshop, where we'll be exploring a new tech stack of how you can leverage automation, AI, and Glide web app building to build your own apps. Today, we're going to be showcasing some examples of apps you can build with these two tools, and we're going to be participating with the audience. We want to make it very dynamic, like a workshop, and get your participation, and hopefully you can build this app live with us.
Yeah, it's going to be very easy to follow along. And once we get into the app build, you can follow along on your phones. It's going to be great. We'll have a live app. We'll get it up and running in 10 seconds. It'll be fantastic.
So some of the topics that we're going to walk through today are, we're going to introduce you to Bardeen and Glide. We're going to show you what are the options that we're building. We have some surprises coming up there. We're going to do a live Bardeen demo and a live Glide demo. So we're basically going to automate and create an app in this session. And we're going to showcase some of the other possibilities that come from here. And we're also going to get a small space for Q&A and to get your questions so we can answer them. So let's get started. All right. So in case you're coming from Glide's community, I want to introduce you to Bardeen. Bardeen is a Chrome extension that allows you to automate your manual work directly from anywhere on the web. You can use it to connect your apps, to scrape data, to use AI actions, and interact with your browser. It's a very powerful toolbox of automation actions that you can use to save time out of those manual workflows that you run into your everyday work. So now I want to learn a bit about Glide. Andy, can you walk me through Glide?
Absolutely. So from the description there, Glide did start as a way to build apps on top of Google Sheets, and that is what we're going to be showing today. But we also connect to a bunch of other data sources as well, including Airtable, Excel. We have native data sources with Glide tables and Glide big tables. You can connect to BigQuery. We're working on SQL connections now for bigger companies. You can connect to all of these different data sources to build powerful apps that work on every device without having to touch a line of code. It really is one of the best ways to get into no-code if you're new to no-code app development. It's a great platform to work with, and it's free to get started.
Awesome. Something I think if you're coming from the automation or the sales space, I think here you're both going to learn how to automate, but also how to build apps from scratch using Glide. And from people coming from a technical background, this is almost unreal. It's like, how can you build an app in a few minutes? And we're going to show you how you can do this. So I want to start with a story, a bit of a side project that I built once. I built a couple months ago, almost a year ago, actually. I built a side project called Sunicorns. And this was like a no-code product that I built using basically a stack of Bardeen and Bubble. So that was my main stack. And I built this directory of startups that will become unicorns in Latin America. And at the beginning, it was kind of a success. It got some virality, got some traction. Yet this was a great hack for me to get into Bardeen. But once I got into Bardeen, once the career hack was over, then I had to keep the app going, right? And what I noticed is that it was very hard for me. it had a lot of maintenance efforts. Both Bubble requires a lot of like learning curve to maintain, and you have to connect your apps through workarounds of either connecting it with external automation apps, or figuring out even manually how to add new data into your app. And that was a big pain for me, and basically the app went outdated because it took too much effort to keep it going. And the tech stack that we're going to share today is one of those tech stacks that I wish I would have learned back like 2 years ago when I was starting on no code. And I think I want to show you why this is a benefit of using this tech stack. So when you're building with no code, there's a couple things that you need to get started. The first one is you need the right data set, right? Either you're building a directory or a job board or whatever app you have in mind, you got to start with data sets. And normally that takes a couple of weeks to get done. You have to copy paste data from your apps. You have to maybe export it from websites, and you need to organize it very delicately so you can then import it into a no-code app builder. So that's a bit of a struggle, to be honest. Now, you no longer need to manually build those databases, and now with Bardeen, you can automate that process of scraping and eliminate those tedious manual data sourcing processes. And now, once you get that initial database, it's going to be as easy as just plug and play it into Glide to start building your no-code app. And that's not all, because once you have the app, you need it to get it going. You need to keep it maintained, right? So that's the other benefit of this tech stack, is effortless maintenance, is no longer having to go into your app to create new rows and copy pasting information and seeing your app get outdated like it happened to me. So this tech stack is, I think, beneficial for this main reasons. So Andy, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. So what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be going through a few potential scenarios, and we're going to leave it to you all to tell us which scenario to go with. But the general process is this. We're going to be looking for certain companies on LinkedIn. We're going to use Bardeen to scrape that data from LinkedIn, pull it into a Google Sheet. Then we're going to build a Glide app on top of that Google Sheet data. Now, we're not going to stop there. We're going to extend that initial data with some additional features, and then you'll be able to follow along because you'll be able to access the app live on your phone, on your device. We're going to share it right when we start the build, so you can just follow along. After that, we'll go back to look at how do you maintain that data, keep it fresh using Bardeen. So, Ivan, back to you.
Awesome. So now we want to hear it from you. So this is one of our first activities we do together, and we're really excited to also have our communities merged here. And we want to get your opinion on what app should we build here. So we're basically going to get data from LinkedIn search, and we have 3 options. So I need you to vote for either of these 3 options. So option A, very realistic and serious, right? We're going to scrape Chilean real estate companies, and we're going to get them and build an app from there. Option B, we're going to scrape AI software developing companies in New York because, right, the future is now, AI is trending, right? And option C, we're going to scrape venture capital firms in EMEA, that is Europe and Middle East Asia, right?
Europe, Middle East, Africa.
Middle East Africa, so sorry. And so we want to hear it from you. You can vote in the chat on whatever platform you're in. We can see it from here. So we got some votes for B.
I'm seeing some votes coming in for B. And
yeah.
We got a few voices. Anyone else? Oh, we got some coming in for A.
Okay.
B. Oh, it's tilting to Oh, this is a tight one.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, Jen flying there in the comments. The solo
nice.
C. I see you, Jen. I
got
respect
a founder
you
there. Nice.
Oh man, Ivan, I think we're gonna have to make a call between A or B.
Yeah, I think we have like a kind of a split.
We do have a split.
Yeah, I think just for the example, what do you think, Andy? Should we go with AI or real estate?
I'm leaning. I see some of our Glide friends in the chat here. I got to go with B. We've been going hard on AI
Yeah,
at Glide.
yeah,
It's
I agree.
Bardeen.ai. Let's
All
go
right, I
B.
agree. I like that idea. So we're gonna go with B. We're gonna scrape AI software developing companies in New York. Very realistic. So now let's get started. And here we start our live demo. So we're gonna go into this link that is basically a LinkedIn search, and I want you to try to follow along at least with the basic steps that we're gonna go. So let's say you're working for a company that is trying to sell maybe a SaaS product to companies in the AI space in New York, right? That's a niche, and those are prospect companies for for you to go out and reach out to the founders, to reach out to these companies and try to offer them your service. So we have this list of 263 results of companies in New York City in the software developing space. And what we want to do is we're going to use Bardeen to scrape this data out of this list. So follow along. The first thing you got to do is you got to, download Bardeen.ai, of course. You go to Bardeen.ai, you download it. It's going to be very fast, and you're going to get a Chrome extension, and you're going to pin it from here. So you pin it, and you have it into your browser. Now we're going to go into Bardeen, right? Awesome. And you will see something very similar to this because it's a brand new account. So you're going to see some explore, you're going to see some playbooks, audiobooks. And in this case, we're going to create a playbook. And the playbook is an automation that you run on click. So in this case, we're going to create an automation that will, on click, scrape the information of this LinkedIn search and save it into a Google Sheet. So the first step to do this is we need to extract the information from the web. We need to create a scraper. That's how it's called. It's a way to extract data from websites. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here to the scraper tab, and we're going to create a new scraper template. And you will get an option here. Bardeen will offer you if you want to use one of our already built scraper models. So just for the sake of the demo, I'm going to use the current model, and we're going to see how this is built. So we, as easy as that, we already have a LinkedIn search model, and you have it here on scrape data on active tab. From here, you can basically just run it, and you will see a demo of a preview of the data that you will scrape. So that's one way. And basically, there's another way that is building the scraper from scratch. And I want to show you this example because not all cases you will get a template scraper, and there might be cases where you want to build your own scraper. Let's say you have a real estate company, or you have maybe you're scraping data from another social media app, not LinkedIn. So we're going to create a new scraper model, and this is the other way you can do it. So you can either search here for existing Bardeen scrapers inside the builder once you create an automation, or you can create a new scraper template, and we're going to do it over this AI tab. Now,
This
I
is the
will
thing that Ivan
select
showed
this
me
time.
that got me so excited.
Yeah.
So if you're a no-code builder, this is amazing what Bardeen can do. Sorry, I needed to hype it up. I couldn't sit there and say nothing.
Awesome. Yeah, so I had the same reaction the first time I saw it. So now we're going to create a scraper. And if you come from a technical background, you probably know how hard it is to create a scraper, right? You have to get into Python, or right now you might need to ask ChatGPT for a lot of selectors and build some complex code to extract data from a website. So I'm going to show you how you can do it very fast here with Bardeen. So you create a scraper, and you select that you will build it yourself. Now, what is the type of data we have here? We have a list, right? We have a list of companies. So we're going to select a list, and we're going to start building. So I'm going to name this scraper template LinkedIn Company Search, and I'm going to start building. All right. So we're going to select different items on this list. So the first thing you need to do is guide Bardeen on, like, hey, here's the list, right? Here's item 1, and here's item 2. Perfect. Now you got the list selected, just as easy as that. Now from here, the next step, you need to select what type of pagination does this website have. In this case, LinkedIn has click pagination, right? So you have to scroll down and you will see a button here for next. So we're going to click on that button and that will be our pagination. So now we have those initial steps ready. We can start getting the data from this page. So it's as easy as just clicking on the information you need. So I'm going to get the text and get the name of the companies. So name, and that's it. Now I'm going to get the link of this company, link, and I get the options here. So let's say I want to get the image. I can also get the image logo. Now I'm going to get the followers. So this you can build in your own custom way. Let's get one last field that is maybe like a bit of industry, right? Okay, perfect. So now we get some information, and this itself might be very useful just to get the information from this page and save it. So now we're going to save this template. And once you save it, this will create you a new automation, or if you're already creating an automation, it will just appear you here on the scraper template. And from here, we're going to do one more step, that is selecting how many items do you want to extract from this page, right? Like you might need to get 20 or 200. So for the sake of this demo, we're going to ask every time. So when I run it, I will show you how many items do we want to get. So I'm going to use this variable called ask me every time. How many, and I'm going to name it how many variables, how many items to get. Awesome. And that's it. Now I'm going to make a quick demo of the preview data. So I'm going to run this, and I'm going to try to get, I don't know, let's get 20 items, and I'm going to run the automation. So just to run it, you simply need to click on that box, and that's it. And then you specify the inputs. And that's the cool thing, is that you can build automations that also ask you for your own input. So let's say you wanted to customize your automations. You can do it this way. I'm going to show you in a second. So you run the playbook, and we're going to get 20 items, right? And this is scraping through the list, and it's getting the data from the current page. And here we go. We got a preview of this information. Awesome. So we got 20 items. You can run it for 50 or 100. Now, the next step is, now that we know that it's working, we need to add an action to actually save the data into Google Sheet. So we're going to come here, and we're going to use this action for Google Sheet. So the first thing you need to do is you need to connect to Google Sheet. This will take you a second just to authenticate yourself, and that's it. And then you're going to search for this action called Add Rows to Google Sheet. All right? Let me know in the comments if anyone has any questions or if you're struggling to follow along. All right, so now we're going to go into this action to add rows into Google Sheet. And it has basically two questions, right? What Google Sheet do you want to save this information on? And what data do you want to save in that Google Sheet? So we're going to select here that we're going to ask me every time. So to which sheet? So you can either select the spreadsheet right there, or you can select it once you run the automation, right? So now we're going to use commands, because there's two options here. You can either build a table, like build the custom table, or you can use the commands and get the data from this step one. So we're going to get the data from that table. So that's the important thing. And once you do this, it's as simple as basically telling Bardeen, hey, I want to save the data from the scraper into the spreadsheet. And that's about it. And now we can test it, and we can run another demo of, I'm going to get the same 20 items. And now I need to select the spreadsheet, because I told it, hey, ask me how many, like which spreadsheet do I want to save it. And here you can either select one of your existing spreadsheets, or here's a small pro tip for the Bardeen users out there, is that you can also create a new spreadsheet directly from here. So you can create a spreadsheet with the name demo Bardeen Glide. So you can use those commands inside the inputs, and you can run the automation, and this will create a new spreadsheet with the scrape data. Let's see this quick demo. So it's going around, it's scraping the items, and Andy helping with the drums.
Here we go.
All right, so here we go. We got the spreadsheet with the data that was scraped and the 20 items. It's just perfect. So we got a process that would probably take us, at least, at least like half an hour to copy paste all this information into the spreadsheet, or at least 15 minutes, and we did it in a couple minutes in a brand new tool. So that's the step one on how you can build a basic scraper and save that data into Google Sheets. Now, let's say you want to not only get that basic data, right? You want to get into each company and get data from the company page. You want to actually get the about and the name and the link. You want to see the website, the phone. Though that is the valuable information. That's where the gold is, right? So I'm not gonna show you entirely how to do this, but I'm gonna show you a pre-built automation that you can run yourselves from your Bardeen extension. And it's this one. This will allow you to copy LinkedIn company data from search into a spreadsheet. So what this automation will do is that it will not only get the data from the first list, but it will also open up each company and scrape data from each company individually. Let me walk you through this automation on how it's built. So I'm going to open it in the builder and I'm going to share it in the comments in 1 second so you can try it yourself. But this is the second version. This is like the evolution of that first version that only gets the data from the LinkedIn search. So this basically does the same action to scrape the data in the active tab. So it gets me the list. And then the second action is scrape data in the background. So this is an action that basically allows you to go in the background and scrape a list of links that you input with a scraper template. So this will basically get, so what this translates to is I will scrape all the links from the step one, right? The about links that I got from the company search with a scraper template that will get me information from the about page. And you can basically, the rest are some details like a custom delay. So the page opens and gets 2 seconds before it's scraping it. That will help you avoid any risks of being like warned by LinkedIn. And incognito, you can set it to no. And that's about it. And then it will do the same. It will save the rows to Google Sheet. Now we're going to run this demo automation. And let me share this automation directly in the chat for all of you to try it out over this query. So I'm going to share the query and the automation. Let's see. Okay. So that's the automation. And that's the LinkedIn query for AI companies. If you want to follow along, it's a great timing. So you only need to come here. Let's see the experience from your side. You will need to open this automation, right? And then you need to pin it into your Bardeen app. So you're going to hit on pin it. And you will see it into your playbooks. So that's how you can get it saved. And that's basically how you can run this automation. The way you do it is you go into the LinkedIn search and you run this automation the same as we did before. You simply select here that you want to copy the list of company data from LinkedIn search, and you will get, let's try to get, let's say 10 items, just so it doesn't take that long. And we're going to create a Google Sheet with the name of New York companies in software development AI space, for instance. Now we're going to run this. And if you want to remember the inputs, for instance, if you already selected a spreadsheet, you can also do that. That's a way that you can kind of save more time once you run the automation. And yes, for the people asking, this will be recorded and it'll be shared into our YouTube channels. So now we're running the automation, and this will, as you can see here, it's opening each one of these companies in the background, and it's getting the data from the about pages, including the phone, the website, the about, the industry. So this is very very rich data that you can get from each company, right? You can build a directory from it. You can build a job searching tool from it. So many possibilities. And now I'm going to hit just stop just to see the output until now, so we don't take that long. Yeah, okay, I aborted it, but let me just show you the result of how this would look like. The only thing to consider is that this will take a couple seconds to. It will take a couple seconds between company to scrape the information. That's the only thing, and it'll run inside your browser. But after, let's say, 10 minutes, you will get a spreadsheet just like this one that you can use to build upon your app. So now we're going to get started with the web app building. So Andy.
All right. So I am looking at the same data source that Ivan's looking at here. So I'm going to flip over to my screen.
All right.
So we have all of this information that we've scraped using Bardeen, and that's pretty awesome, right? Like we have all of these attributes coming out of the LinkedIn profiles, and that's fine. You know, we have a spreadsheet with all this data, but it would be so much better if we could act on the information that's in the spreadsheet. So I'm going to go over here to Glide. I am in a free Glide plan, brand new. Haven't paid anything for this one yet, and we're still going to be able to do this. So let's go. I'm going to click New Project. And I said on Twitter, if you saw my tweet, I said, this is going to be a magical demo. So I'm going to call this the Prospect Magic app. And I can choose between mobile view or large screen view. It's going to be the same app. All the apps that you build in Glide are responsive. So it doesn't matter what device you're looking at. It's going to be great. Because I'm doing this build, I'm going to use large screen. Now, next, I'm going to select my data source. I mentioned earlier, we connect to all these different data sources. You could even upload a CSV or an Excel file. But I'm going to select Google Sheets because that's where our scraped data lives. Click Continue. And I have access to all the sheets that are in my connected Google account. Now, connecting your Google account is something that you'll be prompted to do when you first sign up for Glide. So it's a really quick step. So here's our sheet for AI companies in New York. I'm going to select that. What's going to happen is Glide's going to look at that data and say, I think, based on what we see in the headers, that you're trying to build an app for this purpose. So it's going to infer based on the data and make a best guess of what sort of app are we building. And this is what we get. So if you've never seen the Glide builder before, let me give you a quick orientation of what we're looking at here. Up along the top, this is our nav bar. We have the app details here, and we have data, layout, and actions. These are the three main editing screens that you'll use when you're building apps in Glide. Data is where all your data lives, obviously. And here is our connected Google Sheet in the data editor. If I make any changes here, it'll sync back to that Google Sheet. And you can see it connected here down in the bottom left under data sources. And I can refresh that connection just to keep it nice and
Andy,
up to date.
One question. Yeah. Is this updated automatically?
It's updated automatically. We are a live two-way sync. If you want to force the refresh, you can do that, hit that button, but it's always reconnecting and always syncing the data. So there's our data table. Layout is where you're going to customize the interface of your app. And actions is where you start building out custom functionality. We don't have a ton of time for this demo, so we won't go too far down the actions rabbit hole, but FYI, it's there. We're doing a lot of work on actions right now. Over here in settings, this is where you configure all the settings parameters for your app. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to privacy to make this app public, not require any sign in. And I'm going to change the icon just because. Yeah, there we go. So now the privacy is set to public. There's no sign in required. I'm going to hit publish. Change the URL, hit the button, give it a second, and it's live to the world. So I'm going to grab this app link. I'm going to put this in the chat so you can follow along. Or if you want to whip out your phone, scan the QR code, you can open this up.
So we will see
on your own
the
device.
App being built live, and we can see that.
Where's my camera? Where's my camera? There it is. There it is. So yeah, so you can follow along in real time here as we build. All right. So back to the data editor layout. Okay. So this is a fine first pass that Glide did. Let's look in at one of these items. So every row in our data corresponds to an item in our collection. So here on the left-hand side, you can see we have the collection component. That is this lovely grid here. Grid, not so great when we're doing something like this. I'm going to change this to list. Better information density. If you're building a prospecting app, it's nicer. I'm going to go into one of these entries. Okay, so we have all of the information that we scraped is getting pulled in to fields, into the fields component here on the left-hand side. And you can see some of the stuff we got here. We have the LinkedIn URL, we have the logo. It's pretty cool, but we can make this look a lot better. So here on the components, I'm going to click title. That is this baby right up here. I'm going to change this to cover. So as I'm selecting components on the left-hand side, you'll see the settings change over here on the right-hand side. So I'm going to click title, cover, and I'm going to change image to that logo URL that I see specified down in the field. So I'm going to grab that. There's the logo. Now that's updated here, but it's also going to update on every other screen. So if I go down to Clarity AI, there's their logo. The Create AI, there's theirs. Now LinkedIn also allows you to specify a cover image, and I know we've scraped that. So if I look in here, all of the things that we've pulled, some of these companies include a cover image, and it would be great to pull that in as well. So here, OneUp.ai, they're using it. So let's see where they are. OneUp.ai, fantastic. So I'm going to set the cover image as the background for my title header image. So I'll just scroll down here. Where's my cover? There it is. Fabulous. All right. So now we have the logo, if it's specified and if it was scraped, and the header image, if it was specified and scraped. Great. That's a little bit nicer looking, but it's not that actionable. So what else do we have in here? Well,
But
we have
until now, we have a directory of AI software developing companies in New York. So this is still very valuable, and you can like imagine going around and showing to your boss like, hey, I just scraped all our leads and I made an app out of this.
And it's updating in real time if you're on your device. Okay, so we're in here now. We have the title, but let's make it actionable. So a few things that we can do really easily. We have the LinkedIn URL, we have the website URL, so we can add that too. So here under the title component, if I go down to actions on the right-hand side, I can click add action. I'm gonna have two actions here. The first action, I want to open up the LinkedIn profile. So I'm gonna change the title to LinkedIn. I'm gonna change the icon to the LinkedIn icon, which we have as part of our Glide icon set. Down here, this is the action that we're triggering when we click this button. So I'm going to change this to open link. You can see here we have a ton of different actions that you can use for your apps. And that actions editor up at the top, if you want to start chaining different actions together, that's what the actions editor is all about. But what we're doing right here is we're just specifying one action that's going to happen when you click this button. So I'm going to choose open link. And then the URL is going to be not their website. I want to get the LinkedIn URL, right? So now that's set. What I want to do with the second button is change that to website. So change the name. And we change the icon. Love me a little globe. We're going to open link. And there's the website. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm on the desktop view, widescreen view. I can preview live by clicking that little expand icon right there. I can also have a little preview of what this is going to look like on a mobile device. So as you're building, it really is what you see is what you get. Very much a visual builder. So now I have these two buttons, but I also know that in some cases, we may also have phone number specified. Let me see if we have anybody with a phone number. Retrain.ai. Okay, so let me go back to the main screen here. We also have search. I'm going to select to retrain, and I'm going to add a third action right here called call. And what we're going to do with this is use one of our other actions, which is, if I remember the label correctly, yeah, dial phone number. There it is. Dial phone number, and the phone number is phone. There we go. Now that's really handy on mobile device. So if I'm looking at a prospect and I want to give them a call, I have that nice and handy right there. Now, if you're following along on your own device, you'll be able to see this happening live. Okay, now go back to the collection view here, our main screen. We've pulled in our logos. We have additional information. So let's update the collection settings to make this a little bit more useful. So for the collection, when I'm in a list style, I can specify an image. So here, I'm going to grab that logo URL again. And there it is in the list. And then for meta information, I can pull in any one of these other fields and display them for every list item. So let's say location. So we got some false positives here on that scrape, but that's fine. And that, by the way, is a great call out when you're doing anything with AI or scraping or automation. Double check the output. Don't assume that the output's always going to be 100% accurate. Double check just to be safe. Because sometimes if you're using GPT, it may have some hallucinations. If you're scraping stuff, there may be some false positives based on search criteria. So double check the data. A different thing we could do is if we have specialties, you can fill that in. You get the idea. We can put all these different things in here. All right, so that's fun. We have an enhanced list, really. And we can go in and configure the fields to remove information that we don't want. There's a lot that we can do here. But the next thing that I want to do is make this a little bit more interactive. So what I'm going to do is from the layout, I'm going to add a new text field. So from inserting component, I'm going to search for text. And what I want is the text entry form element. Click that. I'm going to move this up here above the fields. And what I want this entry to be is mapped to a new note field, right? So we've pulled in this information from Bardeen, existing information in LinkedIn, that's fine. But what I want to do now is say, if I have any, like a little note or memo I want to leave for one of these companies, I want to be able to add that. So I'm going to create a new column here in the data editor. Just clicking on the right-hand side here. It's just going to be a plain text column. And I'm going to call it note. Back in layout, I'm going to bind or connect that text entry field that I added to the note column that I just created. Now down here under size, I want to imply that this is for a more long form information. It's not just a single field. So I'm going to select the large size. And now if I leave a note, it will. Something I forgot to mention. To maintain the sync between your data in Glide and Google Sheets, we're going to add something called a row column ID, or a row ID column. So the way we maintain the sync is that we have this unique identifier called row ID that allows us to ensure that if any of these other values change, it's going to be going to the right row. So we don't look at things like the name or anything else. We're going to have this unique locked in ID that we're going to use for the two-way sync.
And this will also create new columns inside the spreadsheet that we had?
Correct.
Awesome.
And you can see it here in Google Sheets. We've added this new locked column that maintains the connection between the two. All right, so should be good now. We have the note field. So if I leave a note, that'll show up here. And that company is C3AI. And you can see we have that new column here in Google Sheets. So we're maintaining that two-way sync between the two. All right.
I have an idea maybe of maybe we can add a status
Yes, sir.
field. So if you're reaching out to these companies, then you can also change the status from a prospect to a lead.
Yes, sir. So that'll be our next step. And if anyone wants to, and you want to go into, I see someone's already dropped in a note on one of the companies. You can go in there right now and leave notes because it's a public app. We haven't added any authentication to this yet. So you can go in there and leave notes on companies just for fun. All right. So next interaction we're going to add is what Ivan was talking about, which is the status. So great. We have this list of companies that we're prospecting again. So we want to be able to track the status of them. And we can do this real quick. So I'm going to go back into the data editor next to tables. I'm going to click new table and I'm going to use Glide table. This is a native data source. It's built into Glide. It's the fastest data source that we have. And it's great for things like this. So I'm going to call this. I'm going to rename this to status. We're going to have a few options. You'll have, let's say, here, I've been throwing some suggestions at me. What should we have for status?
I actually think that in this particular case, we should create it inside the spreadsheet, because when you run the, like inside the sheet one, because when you run the automation,
it will be saved. It will be saved to the spreadsheet. It will be saved to the spreadsheet.
Like with Bardeen, you will be able to select like status prospect, for instance, once you create a new company inside the spreadsheet. How would that work, Andy?
Well, first we need to have our options. So we can specify it with Bardeen and set the column value, but we need to specify what our options are for that field.
Okay, so let's figure out some options.
Exactly.
I think prospect. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start with prospect.
Then let's make it qualified lead.
Okay, qualified lead.
Like outreaching, maybe like contacted. And
do we do one just like one lost?
Yeah, exactly. Cool. One lost. Very simple. Right. You can customize it with your own process.
Exactly. And that's really what Glide is all about. Instead of saying like, hey, this is the way the Glide works and you have to conform your process to Glide. It's what's the process that you have or what's the process that you want to follow and build an app around that. Okay, so we have this status table now. And what we want to do is we want to go back to that sheet and we're going to add a status column. Right? So to what Ivan was talking about, if this exists in Google Sheets, this is something that we can set via Bardeen in Google Sheets, and then the app will also be referencing the same data, right? So I'm going to add a status column. It's going to be defined as text. Click done. Back in layout. I'm going to add a new option here called choice. This is another form element. Click that. I'm going to bring it back up. And here, what I want to do is write to status. That's correct. But the source I want to pull from the status table with the values set as name. So now if I click the drop down here, we can see all of our different statuses. So if I change C3AI to qualified lead, whoop, there we go. I check the data. Where's C3, second row? There it is, set as status. Let's make sure that we're synced. And set to qualified lead. I see there's some magic going on in the app here. I see some things getting switched around. Ivan, I don't know if this is you or if it's the audience. It's always nice to see
and I love the positivity, right? Like I feel good. I feel better. Awesome.
We're doing a lot of winning. This is great. Okay, so what have we done? We have scrape data. We've put that scrape data into a Google Sheet. We've connected that Google Sheet to Glide. We've customized the interface to make it a little bit nicer. Everyone has access to it, so people are punching in notes and changing prospect statuses. That's all great. Now, we could keep going, and that's one of the things with Glide. Like, you can just keep going and going and going, but we're a little bit tight for time. So, Ivan, I want to throw this back to you. Now that we have an app, it's live. How do we make sure that the data is up to date?
All right. So, as Andy was saying, so we got an MVP. We got the first version of this internal CRM that you can use either for prospecting or if you want to maybe create a directory and make a resource out of this. So now the magic here is you not only want that initial data set, and that's it, you actually want to keep it maintained and updated. And if you're sourcing LinkedIn companies, then it's very likely that as you go through your LinkedIn feed, you will find new companies that you would like to save. So let's say you're going around and you notice, oh, I'm missing this company, or maybe you see it inside your feed as you scroll down and you see a company that, oh, look, this new company, maybe it's from New York, or maybe it's in the niche, and you go into that company page, and now what? How do I save it into that spreadsheet? And like the traditional way would be like, oh, let's come here and let's add a new row, right? Breathing, and that's going to be a bit of time. So what I'm going to show you is we're going to create an automation that will scrape the data from this specific LinkedIn company and it'll save it into the spreadsheet. And the cool thing is you can also build upon it so it works with the app purpose, right? Like we're making a CRM, so we want to send maybe a status that is like, this is a prospect company. So we're going to go to Bardeen and we're going to see this example. So this is copy a LinkedIn company data to Google Sheet. And this will already have a pre-built automation that you can find inside your apps, but I'm going to share the automation here so you can also give it a try. And let's just see for a second how it's built before we run it. So this scrapes data on active tab, and it gets the data from the LinkedIn page. This uses a Bardeen scraper, so you don't have to even create one from scratch. And then it saves data into a custom Google Sheet. So it's very simple. One of those initial automations that you can get started with Bardeen. So we're going to run the automation by going into the About page and running it from here. Now we're going to hit on the automation, and we have a small warning that says, before you run it, make sure that you're on the About, right? Because the scraper is for the About page. So now we're going to run the automation, and we're going to select our spreadsheet that is, it's called AI Companies in New York. Okay, perfect. Now, here's a cool tip. You can remember the inputs, so the next time you run it, it'll be faster. So I'm going to remember that spreadsheet, so the next time I run this automation, it will not ask me again, like, where do I want to save the information? I just save it directly. So we're going to run it here, and we're going to save it. Now let's do another example. Let's go into that search, and I don't think this one was in the list too, so we're going to come here to Bardeen. There's also faster ways to run it. You can collapse Bardeen this way, and you can run the automation in one click. Don't show this again. Run, and we're going to run it over. Sorry, we're going to run it over the About page, right? So we're going to come here, and we will run it here. And we got a two new companies that were added into the spreadsheet. That these are basically processes that you might do in your day-to-day. Let's say you find a new company in your feed. It's a CCS just doing that to save the information and add it into your app. So now we're going to do one small tweak into this automation, is that I'm going to show you how you can customize it so you can also send that status, or if you have a note, directly into the spreadsheet. Because Andy created two new fields, and well, it's realistic that once you save this automation, because you have the context, because you're seeing this company right now, you might want to input it into the automation like, hey, here's a note and here's the status. So we're going to make a small switch going to the add rows to Google Sheet, and we're going to use this map fields feature, and we're going to add columns. So here is basically you build the columns that you need in your spreadsheet. And because we already have a spreadsheet, what we're going to do is we're going to come here and we're going to select the spreadsheet that we have, that is AI companies. And that way we get all the fields ready for us to just fill in with the scraped data. So here you can manually map the fields with the name, with, let's do only the basic fields, maybe the overview. Let's do the logo, and you can map it with the data from the scraper. And you should fill this up. And here's the cool thing. In the note, you can ask me every time. So once you run the automation in that context, while you're seeing the company, you can add a note, like custom note, right? Now we're going to hit done. And on the status, because all of these are newly created, then this is basically a prospect, right? Because that's the first status that we created inside our Glide app. So prospect, can you correct me, Andy, if the name is right?
Yes.
Okay.
You have me second guessing myself now. Let me check. Yes, prospect. Prospect is our default status. Yes.
Okay, so that's the default, and that's how we're going to create the new companies in the app with that default. So you don't have to go and specify like, hey, this is a prospect, because you're scraping it, so it's a prospect. You're saving it into your prospecting app. Okay, now we're gonna maybe let's finalize here with the website, and you can see the fields that are available on the scraper. So here we go. Now we're gonna hit done, and we're gonna run the automation, and we will do another example with another company. Let's go here and go to Dory, and we will go to the about, and we will run this. And we're going to add a custom note here. Let's say Dory is an interesting AI use case for, what is Ori about, right? Like AI for power, okay, for video editing, right? Nice. So we have a note, and we're going to run this, and it'll save and scrape the data into the spreadsheet with that note. And boom, here we have the new row. Let's see it. Dory AI with the fields that we mapped, with the note, and with the prospect. Let me just do something really quickly so you can see the fields. Awesome. So we have here our status, prospect, and we have the note. So that's one way. And from here, the possibilities to build upon Bardeen are also endless. Like we can brainstorm for here a second. So there's things you can do here. For instance, using AI inside your actions to customize the note. Maybe you want to generate an AI note, like you were asking ChatGPT, like what's the interesting thing about this company. So you can also leverage the many actions that we have and integrations that we have available with OpenAI, with Snav, with Clearbit. We have, for instance, actions that allow you to find company information from a website. We have actions that allow you to use AI inside the automation to, for instance, let's say we want to create a customized email for this company. So it's very simple to send that custom email created with AI into Glide, and from Glide you can have a button that is like send email, right? So those are some possibilities that you can play with Bardeen. And there's even faster ways to run this. So we even have, if you go down the Bardeen rabbit hole, you will see that we also have triggers to run automations, basically when a trigger happens. So we have a when I right click on a website trigger, and this will allow you to just do something like this, like right click, save LinkedIn company to Google Sheet. And that way you don't even have to get into the page. As you scroll down, LinkedIn, you can simply right click and save the company, and that easily you can have data scraped into the spreadsheet. Now, I want to see like this new fields. Andy, can we see them inside the app? Like, what were those fields?
All right. Let's thank you. So we've added these new fields to our sheet. So we have our founded. All right. How do we want to present these, Ivan?
Maybe inside, like, what is the app preview?
Let's take a look.
Okay, here we go. Nice. Let's see the last items that were created.
Last items that were created.
That were, or maybe you can just search for your AI tool. It's called.
Okay, let's do that.
AI tool.
There you go.
All right, there we go. So that's the newly scraped field. This one we did not set up the status. It was for another one, but here you can see how it was added with the Bardeen automation. All right,
Nice.
so I think we can head on to the next section because we're running out of time. So maybe we can get some time to just brainstorm some possibilities and get your ideas on how this tech stack can be valuable for you. So I wanted to show you some ideas that we came up of apps that are possible to build upon this stack. Let me just share screen.
Let's share the right screen, or we'll end up with StreamYard Inception.
Oops. Here we go. All right.
There we are.
All right. So some ideas that we came up, and the possibilities here are endless because you have scraped data from the internet, and you have an app builder for either mobile apps or web apps. So some ideas that came up are you can make a job board, right? If you're able to scrape job postings in companies, you can make a job board relatively fast with Bardeen and Glide. And even Glide already has templates for this. You can make a venture capital directory app. So that was the other example that we were going to show is you can scrape VCs from LinkedIn, from Crunchbase, from PitchBook, and you can showcase them into your community or your industry. So this might be very valuable for founders or for people that are creating content in the startup space. You can make a job tracking app to basically track and scrape the jobs that you would like to. You can make a custom job tracking app for yourself. You don't have to even pay for any external software. Or you can build a business upon this and create an app to track job applications. You can make a real estate listing app if you're able to scrape data from Zillow and other websites. You can make an app where you showcase some of those listings. And Glide even has an example. And here's some other ideas like on where you can get inspiration. Basically the way we got those ideas, we're also like asking ChatGPT, right? Like pretend you're a founder or pretend you're a social media manager, right? Like pretend you're a community builder. Help me brainstorm ideas of apps that can be built upon scraped data using Bardeen and Glide. And you give it an example and it'll get you a list of ideas that can be valuable for yourself, for your own use case. You can also leverage Glide templates to see what are other apps that can be built upon this stack. And I also wanted to give you a small recommendation of a tool that I like a lot called Side Project Stack, which basically allows you to see showcases of apps that are built upon no code and what are the tech stack that they use. So here you can get some inspiration on other apps that were built by no coders out there. So now we want to get your questions, and let's see. We already have some questions coming here.
Yeah, I queued up some that we were getting from the chat. Let's bring some of these up. Do you want to just start plowing through that list? And if you're not able to stick around, thank you for joining us. I know we're coming up on the hour. We're going to keep this rolling from like another 5-10 minutes to get through the questions. You can stick around, or you can come back and watch the recording later to get the answers.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining. Yes, that is perfect. And if you have to run for a meeting, maybe you can use Bardeen to open that meeting automatically. I'm just kidding.
And get Bardeen to show up for you.
No, actually, yeah, we have an automation for that. You can pop up your meetings automatically. But yeah, thank you so much for coming into this space. And just to recap, you basically learn how to scrape data with Bardeen, how to create automations that save data into Google Sheet. From Google Sheet, to build an app on Glide that you can post, and then how to maintain those apps in like with Bardeen scraping. And you can give this a try for your own use cases. So now let's get into some questions.
All right, let's get over into the questions. Let me bring those up here. All right, starting from one of the first questions we got in. Does Bardeen work in the cloud? So if you don't have your browser window open, you don't have Chrome open, does Bardeen work?
Nice. That's a good question, and we get it often. And we're building that feature as of right now. But right now, in this moment, Bardeen only runs from your currently open browser. So you can only run automations on your browser, and they will scrape data on the background. So that's important. But we are building this, and this is a priority for us to be able to offer that option of running cloud automations. And cloud automations, just in case you're wondering, is like the demo that we saw today of scraping the LinkedIn search. It might take, like maybe 20 minutes while it goes through the entire list if you're getting 100 items. And maybe you don't have that time. Maybe you want to get 1,000 items. So in those cases, that'll be useful. So you can just run the automation and it'll happen from the cloud, and there's no need to have your browser opened. Yeah, so great question, Darren. And you should keep up with the Bardeen, join the Bardeen community, because we're constantly sharing updates on the product, and you will see updates on that feature too. Thank you. Andy.
Now, Keith asked if we can scrape Facebook content with Bardeen. We looked at LinkedIn. What about Facebook?
Yes, that's also a great question, and it is possible. And Facebook is actually one of the trickiest platforms to scrape, to be honest. Yet we are aware of this, and what we do is we have created many automations inside Bardeen, many scraper templates inside Bardeen, and pre-built automation. So just a quick tip: you can go to Bardeen Explore .ai/playbooks. So, okay, so you go to Bardeen and you go to the Explore tab, and you go into the playbooks. Let me just share this link, and you can see a list of pre-built playbooks for the apps that you need. So you can browse here for Facebook, and let's find Facebook. Okay. And these are all this like different apps that you can get data from or that you can automate. So there's many possibilities. And let's see Facebook. And there's already a lot of pre-built automations for Facebook, like scraping business information, scraping of a specific page, a profile, a list of profiles. And we also have scraper templates inside the Bardeen app, as we showed you today, that you can simply search there. So all right, another question. Wandering Seb, what are ways to trigger the templates? So I'm guessing that is like, what are the different triggers for Bardeen? So the way you can check that is when you create an automation, by default, it's a playbook, right? Like you run it on click. But if you add a trigger at the beginning, you will see in this triggers, like when something happens or schedule, and you can see the different options of triggers that you can use from your browser, from apps. So like when an app is triggered, when a new task is created, when, let's see, like for instance, Google Sheet. What do we have on Google Sheet? So when a new row is added into Google Sheet, then you run this automation. So those are some of the triggers. And we have like some of my favorites is when I right click on a website, because it allows you to run like on a right click an automation on the current page. But you can also run an automation every day at 9 a.m., for instance. All right. Let's continue to any other questions? Maybe any questions on Glide? Does Bardeen have HTTPS webhook actions?
Nice segue question.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. We do have a way to send data into webhooks. So we have a HTTPS post and get actions that you can use to connect to other APIs. that's a bit of a complex matter. It's you need to be a little bit technical there. And the good thing is we just created a YouTube video. If you if you search it inside our YouTube channel on how to use these actions, how you can connect Bardeen into a custom API, and it's you can search it by HTTPS. Yeah.
And speaking of YouTube, for anyone who hasn't checked out our last few Build with Glide sessions, we've been talking about how to use OpenAI features within your Glide apps. So if you look at what we demoed today, we have a great one with Marco Volpato from Low Code from a few weeks ago, showing us how to add OpenAI functionality on top of a directory. So you can take those same ideas and apply them to this sort of use case with Bardeen. It's a really powerful way of extending your app.
Exactly.
Let's grab one more.
I'm a big fan. Like I went to the last event, so like we're all AI fans here. So I think what Glide is doing on the AI space and like allowing you to build AI apps really fast is really impressive.
I have to say it's probably one of the easiest ways to work with OpenAI outside of ChatGPT. Like all the powerful features that OpenAI has. If you're not a developer, really take things for a run with Glide. Let's grab one more question. Yeah.
Okay.
So on the Glide side, right now we do have the Airtable as a data source, so you can use that. Notion, not at the moment, but we are extending the number of data sources that we have. What about on the Bardeen side? Can you write to
Yeah, on the
Notion or
Bardeen
Airtable?
side, yes, actually Notion is kind of one of the integrations that we most push and care for. And so we have both integrations. So you can save like the same use case, save a list of that information or save a specific row inside Notion or inside our table. We have some tutorials, some videos on how to use those integrations too. But it's basically the same logic as we just did on Google Sheet. So you can also find them inside the Bardeen apps. You just have to connect with them, and you will see the actions that are available to add rows to our table or to Notion. But I think like something to mention here is that the example we made today to save data into Google Sheet, I think you can do the same, exactly the same example with Airtable and do it with Glide. So it's you can also use if you prefer Airtable, you can use Airtable instead.
I wanted to call this one out because I think it's a really good point that I think is an upside for Bardeen. So we were doing a lot of automation, but from what I see of how Bardeen works, it's really no different from just like loading a page view, because what we're actually doing is we're just loading a LinkedIn page once and then copying and pasting that information. So it's not like you're hitting the LinkedIn API with a bunch of requests. It's not like you're doing a ton of like hundreds or thousands of page loads within a minute. It's not that different from if you were going in manually. It's just the actual copying and pasting is a lot faster, pretty much.
Yeah, so Bardeen, the way it works, since it works inside your browser, it basically opening up information, it's scraping it, and then it's closing it. So the risks are very much minimal. Yet there are still risks if you don't know how to use it like mindfully. Like for instance, the example we made today of scraping, 20 items. That's okay. Like nothing will happen. But if you try to in one run scrape 300 LinkedIn companies with no delays, and like with none of the like tools that would give you to minimize the risk, then you might get a warning. So you will not get instantly banned or anything like this. The most that we've heard from our community is like they get a warning, and then we like teach them how to minimize the risk. But those are like some of the risks to consider. Is you might get a warning, but only if you don't use the delays properly. And the delays is like you open you open the page that you're scraping in the background. It gets 2 seconds or 1 second before it starts scraping it. So so the behavior is more human like, right? It's not like a robot. Exactly. All right. Awesome.
So I think we should wrap up with a little shout out to our respective communities. We've mentioned them several times. Let's start with the Bardeen community. What's going on?
All right, so thank you everyone from the Bardeen community that logged into. It's really cool to see like the merge here of communities. It feels like one of those episodes when you were a kid and like the best shows get mixed up. So a crossover episode, right? So
Yeah,
thank you everyone
nice
that joined.
crossover.
And I think this is a big opportunity for Bardeen users out there that already master Bardeen automation to start using that data to build apps upon it, right? Maybe you can build a business upon those skills that you already have. All right, so thank you for sharing this. So that was our Bardeen community that is web on community.bardeen.ai. And I also want to give a shout out to Glide. Do you want to talk about your community?
Absolutely. So on the Glide side, we definitely have some brilliant folks in the Glide community. I see some of them here on the chat. It is the best place to go if you want to learn more about Glide. If you're just getting started or you've already used Glide and you're looking to level up your skills, we got a lot going on. We have events happening every couple of weeks like this, tons of Q&A in the forums, and we also have just an amazing community of Glide experts hanging out to answer your questions. This has been an amazing collab. Thank you so much to Ivan and Bardeen for jamming on this with us. I think that's it. I think we're good.
That's it. Yeah,
All right,
thank
everybody.
you so much. Really exciting
Thank you so much
event.
for joining us.
I really enjoyed working together with the Glide team. So remember to join both communities, and we hope to collaborate once again in the future, Andy.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the week. We will see you again in the future session. Cheers.
All right. Cheers.